Check 1, 2. There it is. It's going through Zoom. See that right there? Perfect.
Hear me just fine.
I was gonna say because
Check.
smaller space. Yeah.
Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check, 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 check. All right.
What's that? You're gonna have to be like the.
Projection to the room versus, and then this would be on to speak into the microphone or out to Zoom.
Yeah, all three of these.
Out to Zoom, but not to the.
We're gonna try to get all three different. So
Does that make sense? So you're just projecting the voice out of the room.
let me get these speakers out of it.
Okay.
Just so that way they know.
And it's set up to hold three mics. I'm just saying, thank you.
There it is. Check 1, 2. Look at the levels there. Good, good, good. Look, it goes through. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's to the front. It can only pick up one.
Got it. Ooh, got it. Ooh. We're good, baby. Here's questions.
Can you take your breath? Can you take a Yeah. Oh, you hear it?
Oh, hello. Come on. Checking 1, 2. Awesome. And my levels are there. All right. Yep. I'm going to edit that here real quick and we should be good. Again?
Oh yeah, it's in the red over that thing. So maybe that's why it sounds like that to her.
Yeah. Check.
When we turn to the master one.
No, it's fine because that's just for that speaker. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're fine.
Necessarily. Okay, gotcha.
Check 1, 2, and then we should have the last one too. Gotta love technology, guys. Check, check, check. Perfect. Dude.
Mic check, we good? All right. Good evening, everyone. We're reconvening into open session. During closed session, the board approved a one-year job share assignment for the 25-26 school year for employees number 160406 and 160495. The vote was 5-0. All right. Board members, hopefully at a time to review our consent agenda. Any modifications?
I motion to approve the consent agenda items and also, if possible, would move 9.4 ahead of 9.1.
All right, can we call for a vote?
Second, as amended.
Second, thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion 5-0.
All right, we're going to move on to reports and correspondence. 6.1, Santa Rita Teachers Association. Do you have a member here?
Okay. So good evening, members of the board. SRTA would like to remind our board members that we, the Santa Rita Union School District, pride ourselves on being a small district that works together well to do what is best for our students. With that being said, when a board member states that, and I quote, "We value teachers' input, but the cell phone pouches, is outside of teachers' purview," it shows to SRTA that you don't actually value our input. This is not a well-received or welcoming sentiment for moving forward in future endeavors. Also, it felt that we were being admonished for not attending in person to show our appreciation for ratifying the tentative agreement last month. SRTA would like to remind the board members that these meetings are streamed live on YouTube, and technology allows us to attend these meetings virtually. Not being able to see us physically in front of you does not mean we are not paying attention or thankful for the tentative agreement or anything else presented at board meetings. I am not sure why the members of the board have decided to seemingly push back on teachers, but it has been noticed and it will be remembered. On a more positive note, we would like to say thank you to Jacob Sandoval, Cindy Lopez, and Elva Arellano for visiting our middle schoolers, and thank you to Sarah Turner for reaching out to our members for their opinions on the cell phone pouch discussion. It was great to have you all on campus, and it was great to have these conversations, and I think that truly it was productive and illuminating for both sides. SRTA still feels that now is not the right time for cell phone pouches, but I will allow the public comments from individual teachers to speak for themselves. Thank you.
Next up, we have 6.2, CSES Employee Association. Do you have a member here?
Good evening, everyone. I'm here to Sunshine for the upcoming reopener negotiations for 2025, and I'm going to read the articles that we are interested in opening. We are interested in opening Article 4, Hours of Work. CSEA has an interest in clarifying and enhancing language to maximize and ensure equitable assignment of overtime, extra time, access to and lieu opportunities, call in, call back time, etc. But before that, I'm going to go ahead and read what I was supposed to read before. The California School Employee Association and its Chapter 503 are submitting its initial bargaining proposal in accordance with Section 3547 of the Government Code for the upcoming reopener negotiations 24-25. And again, after Article 4, we are also, CSA has an interest in clarifying, Article 5, compensation. CSA has an interest in negotiating a fair and competitive salary increase for its bargaining unit members. CSEA also has an interest in establishing ongoing participation in the state's classified school employee summer assistance program as codified in California Education Code Section 45500 to provide a pathway for its bargaining unit members working 11 months or fewer to assist in bridging the financial gap experienced during summer months when they are without employment or underemployed and ineligible to receive unemployment benefits, and to provide them with the opportunity to receive matching funds allocated in the state budget for this classified school employee summer assistance program. We are also interested in opening Article 6, Health and Welfare Benefits. CSCA has an interest in negotiating a fair, equitable, and competitive health and welfare benefits package for its bargaining unit members. We look forward to a mutually productive and positive negotiations process with the district. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, we have 6.3, Superintendent's Cabinet.
Rosa, were you just going to hold for your budget? Okay. Krisha, you've got your presentation. Becky?
I have no comment at this time. Thank you.
All right, we're going to go with the board and superintendent's reports, starting off with Cindy.
Good evening. Is it working? Yeah. Okay. So all I have to report is last week I was able to do a walkthrough for both of our middle schools, Gavilan View and John Gutierrez, and it was nice to see the kids in action during their lunch. I went to go see to be aware of what we're looking at with the pouches and all of that, and see. I know Mr. Patel, one of our biggest concerns was making sure that our children that are attending are engaging and not I could personally say I didn't see any of that. It was a great walkthrough on both schools. There was no cell phone usage, nothing like that that I saw when I was present. So I thought that was really good. Both of the principals are doing a great job. The kids, both of the schools are different, but it's really nice. They're playing activities. They are Gavilan View. There's Miss Cummins. I want to say it was Miss Cummins. She has a great room. Correct me, teachers, if I'm. Yeah, yes, it was her. Okay, where she has her door open to the kids. They go out there, and I mean, if I would want to be there. So it's awesome to see that they're involved, and that just shows positivity and knowing that at least in our schools, as of now, what I saw, the cell phones are not, being disturbing to them. And also I was able to meet with some teachers and, hear them out and what they thought. One of them being Ms. B, and she was actually my 7th grade teacher at Gavilan View. And it was really nice to see her there and hear. And what I would say is if there was teachers that felt that it was an issue, I did wish those teachers would have been present to kind of hear, what issues, if any, are arising in the classrooms. So far, I didn't get that feedback in my walkthrough on either school. So that's what I wanted to come and report to you guys, what I saw when I went to those visits at Gavilan View and John Gutierrez. The other thing was the Safety Wellness Committee. I also attended that. Pretty good discussions about, making sure that we are keeping our schools, healthy, alternative snacks, ideas, things like that. We also got a little taste of what Krisha will be showing today with our new camera system. A lot of feedbacks from our administrators that they're loving it. They're being very helpful. So that was really good. And other than that, I wanted to attend Santa Rita's art thing, but unfortunately I wasn't able to. But I know Alva, Sarah, and Jacob there, so thank you. And but that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you. So since the last board meeting, I attended the facilities meeting, which I always find that incredibly informative and really helpful in planning. I went to the mural unveiling, the 2 new murals at Santa Rita, which are absolutely beautiful. I attended the music concert at Gavilan View, which was fabulous. And then earlier this evening before our meeting, we had walkthroughs on the McKinnon campus and here at New Republic. And just to let people know, when we do that, which is every couple of months, the public is welcome to come with us if they want to see like what we're seeing when we're looking at the facilities. Or so it just, I love being at the schools, and getting to see 4 of them in the past 2 weeks has been really good.
Good evening. Since our last board meeting on November the 12th, excuse me, I went to Hardin Middle School to observe how cell phone pouches are organized and how their system works. On November 18th, I went to the Curriculum Council meeting from 3:30 to 5. It was very productive. It was always nice to be there with teachers and get their feedback. And as a result of that meeting, Mrs. Who's the principal there at Santa Rita? Mrs. Koenig. Oh, yeah. I always forget because I always call her by her first name. But anyways, Mrs. Koenig, she invited me to come to the walkthrough that Wednesday. So I did. It was on November the 20th. And what a nice way to see. First of all, I have a few notes here. The reason for a walkthrough is to provide common language and common tool to help walkers like myself to be learners, and also to support walkers like myself as learners with a means to calibrate their observations. So in my observations, I observed so many neat, unique stuff that's going on in classrooms, such as think, pair, share, let me see, here's some. Sentence frames, choral responses, the classroom organization, define spaces for the kids, the curriculum being used, as what we had seen. There was just so many neat stuff. I mean, I can go on, and it was the team that walked through was Melissa, Becky, myself, and 2 teachers and our reading coach, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. And it was really nice. It was really nice to see the kids, how the teachers are interacting, how the teachers are really working hard. Then after that, on December 2nd, I went to Gavilan View and John Gutierrez to middle school to observe the lunchtime socialization, to see, about the cell phone pouches. Very interesting. I saw a lot of socialization during the lunchtime. Yeah, pretty much. A few we might have seen maybe a few cell phones. I think Jacob did, but he'll probably attest to that. And then I also went to December 5th, Gavilan View's winter concert. That was spectacular. That was the most nice. It was a very organized event. I saw beginners. They weren't even beginners, but they worked very, very nicely. And I can see where they're going to progress into furthering their musical abilities. And of course, the singers, the chorus, the choral, that was really great too. On December 6th, I went to the unveiling of 2 murals at Santa Rita. Beautiful murals. I'm excited. And Mrs. Roisin, I think, worked very hard on that. And then today, I went at 8:45 to go see the Santa Rita concert there, or the sing-along or the Christmas presentation. And what's our music teacher's name there? Jody Clark. Great. She did an awesome job, and so did you, Diane, for the winter concert. And then this morning I went to Santa Rita's, I think I said that. And I also took a 2-hour ethics training course and passed it. Got my certificate. And then I'm looking, and then today, like Sarah says, we went with Victor to a walkthrough with McKinnon and New Republic to look at the facilities there. And then tomorrow, I'm looking forward to the Winter Wonderland. And also Friday is the New Republic. So anyways, it was, oh, you got it. It was a busy.
Yeah, you have been busy. Yeah, for me, I was able to do the mural walkthrough at Santa Rita School. It's amazing to see the murals at the different schools. It just feels like it creates more of a welcoming environment for the students and stuff. So I know there's another one item on the agenda, which we'll discuss later, but I'm happy to support those items going forward. I did attend the walks, but I'll save my comments for our conversation at John Gutierrez and Gavilan View Middle School. Also, just to remind everybody, we have a coat drive going on. You can go to Costco and you can get really good high quality quotes for $25 each. So I highly encourage, I think tomorrow's the deadline, I believe. Yeah, I believe tomorrow's done. So just kind of a reminder to everybody. And that's all I got to report.
Thank you. Well, it's been kind of a busy couple of weeks. A couple of things. I've been with my students doing a lot of volunteer work in terms of Thanksgiving dinners and as well as the Parade of Lights. I'm very proud of our community for coming together for that. I did get a chance to go to Hardin Middle School. One of my former students is one of the classified aides who's in charge of the pouch program there, but we'll talk about that as time comes. But I'm looking forward to the concert and the presentation for the school district. So having said that, here we go.
Everybody knows how busy the 2 weeks between Thanksgiving and the winter break are. And so lots of fun events, going to as many of our music concerts as possible. I know the school site's doing some really fun activities with their students, always a good time for Spirit Week. And so being able to visit the middle schools today, I know JG was anything but a backpack day, which is always really fun to see what. And GB was what?
Christmas sweater day.
Christmas sweater day. Yeah, we're at the district office. Becky is planning a candy cane day for us next week, where we're going to wear our red and white. So we're going to get in on that action. A lot of great programming for our students and our families going on, which I think is super important. I want to give Julie Johnson a shout out for an amazing turkey trot again this year. Every year that I've been here, it just feels like it's bigger and better. But I do think every year the challenges I'm like, wow, every year I feel like this gets harder. And, the stations and everything, but it was really fun this year to see other students helping man the stations from one obstacle to the next, which also included math, art, as well as the physical exercise to get that done. How many turkeys this year? 240. That's amazing.
For public service, it was an old student of ours, Christina Victorini, is the one who's heading up the coat drive also, the district coat drive. She's an ex-student of ours who was kind of, Gavilan View's been a place, Santa Rita's been a place for Ed Victorini's work for many, many years. Lisa, I forgot her other name, but it's Victorini now. Also went there, Ed went, so it's a family, they're the public services coming back to us, so. And I couldn't do without the teachers, donations, and board people that have contributed, so. It's all done through 100% donations. So.
Awesome. And so that's about it. I appreciate everyone putting in all the energy. I know how like taxing that is and all the things, but like seeing how many people were there helping at the music concert. I know Mr. Zimmer was there handing out the sing-along sheets and and doing all of those things. And like Ms. Johnson said, like how much teamwork it takes to pull things off. And so I always appreciate how our community comes together to do some pretty amazing things. So thank you.
I don't know if it's up or. Alrighty then, we're gonna move forward with public comment, 7.1, non-agendas items.
And yeah, okay, I'm just gonna talk. For non-agenda items, we have 3 public comment. Before we do public comment, I'm gonna make the standard announcement that each speaker has 2 minutes. You are not allowed to cede your time to another speaker, and a total of 20 minutes on any particular topic. All right, so we have, first up is AJ Organista, a non-agenda item.
All right, I've been on calls all day, so pardon me if my voice is a little hoarse. My name is AJ Organista. I am a parent of a second grader at McKinnon Elementary School. I am also an avid walker to go pick her up. I hope that everyone is privy to the construction that's going on in front of McKinnon Elementary School with respect to the Baranda widening project. So I have a couple points I wanted to discuss, or at least bring up to the board here, for food for thought with respect to student and public safety. Some of the things that we can accomplish in-house that will kind of prepare us for the future. Number one is the idea of a crossing guard. As it stands, Mr. M, principal who's out there at McKinnon, is constantly going out on his own free will to support as a crossing guard. I'm hoping that maybe there's an opportunity to weave some type of funds into a budget or somehow incentivize a student or admin or staff member to support as construction's going on. Also looking ahead to the construction the implementation of a roundabout. Crossing's not going to be any easier from the plans that have been set forth. It seems as if though there are 4 intersections that students by themselves need to cross. So I think it's a very important topic to take into consideration as we move forward into 2025. With respect to time, 30 seconds, okay. Another item to consider is the amount of parking that's going to be lost at McKinnon Elementary School. The widening project is going to seep into the school property, so it's important to consider how much parking is going to be taken away for parents to pick up and drop off before and after school. Also taking into account that more people are going to be walking, so crossing guard is still considering. And then the other thing is to remind all of the folks at each school traffic speed with proximity to a school. Constant reminder that people got to slow down, pay attention.
Before the next speaker goes up, Melissa, if you can, I know one of the items you brought forward when have been discussed before was the crossing guard. Can you kind of give more clarification and then how maybe reaching out to city, how we can kind of work on something like that?
So right now, the city is supposed to be providing staff to help with the morning and the afternoon crossing, particularly with the construction going on. And if they're not, let me know. I want to clarify one thing. The construction area and the new road will not be encroaching on the McKinnon property. And McKinnon is a 10-acre site, the school site, and so it won't encroach. Now, the increased traffic, of course, when the development goes in, will have some impacts. And when they widen McKinnon Street accordingly, that would, but it not into the school itself, but adjacent to, will have some impact. Okay, next up we have Diane Galing.
I know, just being me. First of all, I want to talk about a little bit about the winter concerts, and then I want to talk about the honors, which I'm sure Tina has not told you about yet this year. So, first of all, thank you to those of you that came to my winter concert last Thursday. It was a show. It went well. I was really excited about it, and it's been the first time in a long time that I've been able to have all the kids be at the winter concert. And that is in part due to the new scheduling this year in a 6-period day versus a 7-period day. So we'll see how well it keeps up following years. But thank you again for your support. The concert was great. It was awesome. We recently got results of which kids, both at John Gutierrez Middle School and Galvin View, tried out and who made it to the honor band, middle school honor band, honor choir, and honor orchestra. Tina right now is calling me her boss. So, because I'm getting the stuff out to the John Gutierrez, and she's calling me up and says, what do I do? Or well, how do I need to do this? They have 2 students that tried out for honor band. Isaiah, and I don't remember the last name, and Diego. I know Diego, no, Isaiah has Escorcia, but one is a trumpet player, one is a baritone player. Tina thinks he's a bass clarinet player, but we're working on that one. And then they had one student try out for honor choir, and she's Earth. She's also auditioned and made honor choir last year. And then they had 2 students try out for honor orchestra this year, and no, actually one cello, and that student also made it. So, John Gutierrez, even without the fact that they don't have a dedicated, like a single music teacher, they have the group, I believe, taking over them. They did really good. These kids were motivated, and they took the initiative. And then I have several kids between the choir and stuff. So it's going to be a good year. When I get a chance, I will get the dates out to you. Thank you.
Okay, and next we have Chance Holsworth.
Hi, everybody. The last time I was here, I was kind of negative. I was really wanting to be here for something positive, and this is unfortunately a little bit more of a mixed bag than I was hoping for. But first, I want to thank the board members for coming to GV. I want to thank Miss Ariano for making me blush in the first time I can remember. She brought up when she was working in my second grade classroom when she was a TA in that class, and oh man, that was great. You know, the not positive parts is watching board meetings the last few months. There's been comments that feels like the district doesn't really value its teachers. You know, we had a contract, Mr. Patel, you should express frustration that teachers weren't here last month. And, you know, we had a contract that we voted for that asked us to work for less money next year. I'm gonna have a smaller paycheck next year. And we voted for it. And that contract can make teachers feel not valued by the district. You know, when you look at comments saying teachers' viewpoints don't matter at the board meetings, that makes teachers not feel valued. And these are all things I've seen the last few weeks. You know, I don't believe this is the case. I actually believe every board member, I believe our district office, do believe in our teachers and value our teachers. I believe our district has questions without easy answers. I believe our board members feel frustrated by so many comments from frustrated teachers. And I think sometimes that leads to frustration coming out. But you got to realize when you hear frustrated comments from teachers, it's because we care. It's because our goal is to help our kids to have as best a chance at having an amazing life as possible, and we will do everything we can for that. We don't want to come complain to you. I don't want to complain to the district office. I don't want to complain to the school board. I never want to bring up something negative. That's never a goal. I don't know any teacher that does. But we want our kids to do well. We want our kids to succeed. You know, we care enough that we voted yes on a contract to be paid less for the privilege of teaching our students. Am I out of time? went on too long. My apologies. I hope if the intent is not to make teachers frustrated, I just ask that you might want to think about changing the approach a little bit, how you respond to teachers and how you get feedback from teachers.
The pay in any bit?
The benefits, cost of benefits.
You said pay. Excuse me, you said pay.
Okay. I said my paycheck is shrinking, sir.
Yes.
And my paycheck will be smaller next year
Yes.
because the cost of benefits is increased by 12%. The amount you're increasing to cover will cover 10% of that. The 2% of the increase up to my benefits cost will be removed from my paycheck. I will be receiving less money next year to do my same job.
And
I
we'll
apologize if I was unclear.
Agenda items.
All right, next up. 7.2, public comment, agenda as items.
Okay, I'm just going in the order that these were handed to me, so no particular order other than the stack. Miss Mia Commons.
Good evening. I'm here tonight on behalf of many teachers who are unable to attend but who still wish to have their voices heard. I teach at Gavilan View Middle School, and as a middle school teacher, I believe I understand firsthand the challenges we face in managing cell phone use in the classroom. However, I also want to point out that the concern that has been raised about cell phones, and specifically the concern about how to manage their use during class, represents a very small minority of our staff. In fact, only about 7% of teachers in the district have expressed any issue with cell phones at all. So the large majority of teachers have clearly already found classroom management strategies that work for them. Given that, I'm struggling to understand why the district is proposing to spend nearly $200,000 of an already very tight budget on these cell phone pouches. Money that will be used to implement a solution for a problem that is not widespread. This estimate does not account for the inevitable cost of replacing broken pouches, which will become an ongoing expenditure for the district. These funds could certainly be better used elsewhere, on field trips, on athletic equipment. We really need loaner Chromebooks for students. Even providing teachers with professional development on classroom management, which would benefit a much larger portion of our staff and our students. Yet all of these proposals have been met with resistance from the district on the grounds that we do not have the money for them. So we see now where that money would be going, and we do not support this choice. In the district's November curriculum council meeting, we reviewed feedback from both parents and staff on the issues that they most want to see addressed by the district, and the proposal to spend the substantial amount of money on cell phone pouches was by far the most frequently raised concern. 33 people, to be exact, felt compelled to say something about that. In fact, more people expressed their concerns about the purchase than the number of teachers who originally stated that cell phones were an issue. Yet it feels as though members of the board refuse to acknowledge the majority-held opinion. We would like for the district to hear us and to trust that we as community members know what would best serve our students. Why ask for feedback if it is going to be ignored? I ask on behalf of myself and many others that the board please seriously reconsider this use of funding, and thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, next is Miss Jennifer Alvarado.
Good evening. I'm here to speak out against the cell phone pouches. There are many reasons why to be against it, but the biggest reason is why. We do not need cell phone pouches. I did conduct an informal survey in my classroom regarding cell phone pouches. In the classroom, so 72% of students bring their cell phone to school every day. 69% of the students say that the distractions in the classroom are not cell phones. They are related to talking to other students, daydreaming, and other students disrupting the classes. And just 1% report that cell phones distract in the classroom. Then at lunch, 85% of the students say that students are not on their cell phone at lunch. 89% of the students say that they're playing sports or talking with their friends instead of being on the phone. And 64% say how could lunch be improved would be to allow students to talk on the phones or use their Chromebooks. I believe the simplest solution is best. Let's just enforce our existing policy, no cell phone use at school. Rules do not enforce themselves, so there is a problem, then more consequences must be issued to the few students that break the rules to ensure compliance. Additionally, banning policies like these usually are ineffective. The compliant students will dutifully place their phones in the pouches. However, those that break the rules will find ways to skirt the system, such as placing a dummy phone in the pouch, or forgetting or losing their pouch, or simply state that they have no phone. In conclusion, I see that cell phones use isn't our biggest, most pressing problem. Certainly not a problem big enough to justify the expensive price tag and logistics of enforcing a cell phone pouch policy. I think taxpayer money, be better spent helping students academically and increase discipline when they most certainly are in need. Furthermore, we need consequences in addition to restorative justice practices to best educate our students into productive citizens. Thank you.
Next, we have Ava Alvarado.
Hello, my name is Ava Alvarado. I am a sophomore at Monte Vista Christian School. I attended La Jolla from first grade until fifth grade. I also attended Gavilan View Middle School and was one of the valedictorians in 2023. I am speaking out against cell phone pouches at Gavilan View. I think the schools do not need them. In my experience at GV, teachers, the principal, staff, and yard duty adults did not allow students to be on their phones at school. Since students didn't want to get in trouble, kids weren't on their phones. In conclusion, I don't think Gavilan View needs cell phone pouches because students aren't allowed to be on their phones at school. Thank you for your time.
Next is Miss Julie Johnson.
It's for Zoom. That's better than I have it. Oh, I told it. Hi. You guys know me. I've been around a while. Great. Really? Am I too loud? Okay, sorry. All right, so most of you guys know me. I'm Miss Johnson, Julie Johnson. Been around longer than a lot of you guys have. I want to thank the board, Alva, I know her for first name, Alva, Cindy Luhu, Jacob Sandoval, for coming by, checking us out with our cell phones. Dr. Alderman, God, that's weird to call you that. Becky came by too also. I'm out there yard duty all the time. We're always playing. We're doing some type of stupid activity, shooting for otter pops or racing down playing Mario Karts. Kids are talking, getting dates, finding boyfriends, girlfriends. We're not on cell phones. Yeah, we had a couple. We've got two that have absolutely no English. So they communicate on their phone. One is Mixteco, one is, thank you, Arabic. And so those are the couple of kids we've got on them. I appreciate you guys. It was super fun to be able to sit and talk with you guys and communicate. I got some things from Chunji, and we got stuff from the board members. It was really nice to be able to talk. It's probably the first time in a long time I felt like we were actually heard on that. And it was fun. It was kind of cool. We got some great ideas on how to accomplish this. Let us try to fix something. Everybody's jumping the gun we got to do something new. Let us get going and let us practice. Let us get this in effect for a year or so. The general fund isn't big enough to support something like this. We've got many other things. I mean, a lot of you guys had a lot of things to say, and there's many that are going to support. There's other places that we could desperately need the monies. And I do want to make one comment because I know that beeper's going to go off. I haven't had that much coffee yet. As one comment, I was one of the teachers from the last board meeting with the construction people. Wasn't quite sure why there were so many there, but I figured out that they were trying to get jobs and appreciated the fact that we were listening to them. But the comment was made continually about the construction workers in the union having a quality of life. And I would like to see the board president, to put as much consideration in our teachers trying to have that quality of life when I've got colleagues that are working 2 and 3 jobs, working extra hours to have what is considered an adequate lifestyle, not a comfortable lifestyle. I've been teaching 34 years. I am just now getting to a comfortable lifestyle. That's concerning. Okay, and I'm not a young teacher, so please, I like to appreciate that. I know, I can't talk anymore because I'm in trouble. Think my tire bill?
Okay, next is Miss Ashley Tripp.
Hi. Okay, I'm here to read other people's statements who wanted to present their statements and have them read aloud instead of emailing them directly. So up first, we have greetings and happy holidays. Grant Howerton here, robotics teacher at John Gutierrez Middle School. I have a few thoughts I wanted to share. While we all agree that cell phones are a major struggle for the youth today, I would advocate that teaching the self-control and social skill awareness of when to use and not to use devices is the appropriate response. These skills are taught through direct action and consequences at the site level, not removing devices from student hands so that they never gain the opportunity to learn that self-control. Additionally, the cell phone pouches have multiple methods for defeating them that are easily Googled, such as magnets or using a second cell phone in the pouch. These are widely circulated among students. Furthermore, when our STEM/robotics program at JGMS has its budget cut by 60% this year, and I see the massive price tag attached to a program with limited efficacy, I might question if the significant cost of implementing a program such as this is appropriate for a time period in which we are experiencing budget cuts. I am happy to discuss my thoughts further if anyone has any questions. Thank you for your time and all your hard work in creating such an excellent district. Sincerely, Grant Howerton. Okay, second one. I want to express my concern about the proposed expenditure on cell phone pouches. Oh, man. Okay. And already see students managing these guidelines well. I have not seen this as a major issue in my classroom and find the idea of spending money on pouches that will do nothing to enhance learning a complete misuse of taxpayer dollars and a slap in the face to teachers who are spending hundreds of dollars per year to fund their classrooms, while on the same token being told by the district that we do not have money for supplies that we need to succeed and thrive. I hope that you will take teacher input into consideration, as we are the ones doing our best to make sure that all of our schools are places where students thrive. Okay, the third one. I only have two more. The cell phone pouches are a flawed solution that fails to effectively prevent their usage in class. While they may seem secure at first, the reality is that these pouches are easily compromised with a few simple tricks. These methods are an open secret, and most students already state they have plans to find a workaround if these pouches are implemented. The pouches create a false sense of security while doing little to actually stop cell phone usage. It's been mentioned that teachers won't have to deal with pouches, so it's less work for them, but the same students that have cell phone issues now will be the ones that are not using the pouches as intended, and therefore will find a way to disrupt the classroom environment regardless. We would be investing significant funds into a system that is trivially bypassed with a little ingenuity and an internet connection. It's irresponsible to waste limited education budget on such ineffective measures. Okay, thank you so much.
Next is Cynthia Chavez.
Hello, good morning, or good evening. My name is Cynthia Chavez. This is my third year teaching in all. I'm a teacher at JG Middle School. I'm also a product of Santa Rita District. So I just want to say last year was our year that we really started pushing the policy. It definitely had its struggles, definitely with our 8th graders, because for the first 2 years, 6th and 7th grade, they didn't have to put their phones away, correct? Their 8th grade year was difficult. I had a lot of pushback myself with students. When students had phones out, we would say like, hey, give me your phone. They'd be like, no, 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 no. This year, completely changed. Students know what the expectations are. We say it every day in our announcements. Every time a student has their phone out, we tell them to give their phone. No argument, they give it. Parents, that's a lot less, well, it's a lot easier now this year. Last year, we had a lot of issues with parents not wanting to come and pick up cell phones. This year, not an issue. We put it in our newsletter every Sunday. Parents are also aware of the requirements. All I ask is that you please hear us out. At the end of the day, we are the ones in the classrooms with these kids every single day. We understand our students. At JG specifically, this isn't an issue. A lot of our kids are very respectful when it comes to phones. Many of you have came to visit us at our school site. Those kids, they can communicate with each other, and it's slowly getting better. At the end of the day, technology is only going to advance even more, and we can't just take it away because it's not going to work out. We got to work with it. So we have lots of students who are doing a lot better. They're working a lot with us. I will admit, I will let my students use their phones in class to listen to music. As you know, COVID was not that long ago, and right now a lot of our students are struggling academically, and being able to listen to music in class while doing work really helps them out. And by taking their phones away, that can cause more issues for us because those students will not be able to take the time to really pay attention in class. I'm also the activities director at John Deere's Middle School. So as much money as you guys want to push for this, please come talk to me because there are lots of things on campus that we can use that money for to make kids excited to come to school, because they are excited to come to school. But with more events, with that money, we can fund those events, make them a lot better, and want kids to be excited. So that's all I got to say. But again, if you would like to talk to us about budget, I'm definitely here. We have lots of things that we would love to do with the kids. Thank you.
All right, we're going to move forward with 8.1, Technology Department presentation.
All right, thank you very much. I'm here to talk to everyone about our installation that we have with our grant for the COPS grant that we earned last year. And as the presentation's coming up, it's okay. Over the course of last year, we spent a lot of time writing the COPS grant. We were able to work with a grant writer in order to acquire funding. Initially, we were looking at just doing an update on the camera system itself and using what funding we did have to incorporate with our current system. And then with that grant, that enabled us to have the monies to be able to do a full-on upgrade for our camera system, along with sensors as well for our middle schools. It's okay. So I'll just kind of go over the overview, and then we can push forward because I do have a video that will come up with that as well. So the overview with that, in the spring, like I said, we did some site walks of spring of 2023. That way we were, or of 2022, I mean, we were able to use the safety review that was produced by Kimball and Associates to have an idea, if you want to go ahead and move to the next slide. Thank you. To have an idea of camera placement, where safety concerns were, areas that we were needing further coverage with our camera systems. Along with that, with the site walks, we started a pilot of our cameras. And as I said, initially it was to find ones that would incorporate with the LoRiC system that we did have. Once we were able to acquire the COPS grant, our grant application, we were awarded that funding. We were able to look at cameras and sensors. We continued with the pilot of the cameras and sensors, and this was at GV. That's because it was attached to our district office site. So we were able to very easily monitor that since that's where our main frame was. So with that, with the cameras and sensors, the sensors being the Halo ones that we have in the restrooms, and those were middle school only. And then for spring of 24, we were able to do some of our final reviews for our site needs and equipment orders. We landed with Quovo as our installers, and we are using Avigilon camera systems along with Halo sensors at our middle schools. All right, I'll just keep moving. It's okay. Tech happens. All right, I'll go ahead and go back one more, please. Thank you. Okay. Back. There we go. All right, so now in the fall, we did all of our camera installations thanks to our IT team. They volunteered in their hours to move their time into the evening, so that way we could work with Quovo to get all the cameras installed. We started with a incremental installation, starting with GV, middle school sensors as well as MOT. And so we slowly onboarded. We just finished with all of the camera installations just in this last week. With those installs, we're still working on making some adjustments. The sensors we're calibrating still, all those types of things. We also had some preliminary systems trainings for our administration and those that are administering the cameras along with our site safety liaisons. So that way they got a really quick look, shock and awe, being able to navigate the system. So that way now on to the next. For our current status, all the cameras and sensors at the middle school are installed and active. We're actually getting, in fact, I touched base with our middle school admin. They're getting all the alerts. And so that's been really good, along with our campus supervisors. They have iPads, so that way if an alert comes up, they're ready to be able to do an investigation if needed. Our system components for naming and mapping of the sites and all that, that's what we're working now currently in onboarding that, so we can name the cameras, their locations, and have that be incremental throughout the district. So that way, if we have anything, it's a synonymous naming for each of our sites. Camera angles, and like I said, the sensor calibration, and I'll show you a view of what that looks like for the sensors in the next video. And we'll also be preparing for further system trainings for our admin, so that way they're even more familiar with the system. It's a very robust system. We're starting with all of the basic pieces first, but there's a lot of other increments that we can start building in over the course of time and training. Right. So some of the key features. It is a cloud-based dashboard, and I'll be showing you a video of that here in a moment. What that means is it's not what's a DVR-based one. So as the camera's picking up that footage is going and getting stored into the cloud, which gives us a longer period of time so things aren't overwritten on the DVR, which is very nice. We have cloud and backup camera footage storage locally on the cameras as well, in case there's any system outages or other things that we can get that backup off of a card. We're able to, within the system, select dates and times for playback, which is one of the things that our principals have really, really liked. It's saving them hours of time, as they said in the safety committee meeting, for having to review. We are able to zoom in and search. There's some really robust search features in there, and you'll see a couple of them in the video coming up as well. The cloud holds footage for about 35 to 45 days, depending on the on time and the amount that it's pulling in. And we're able to bookmark clips. So if we see something or something comes up, we can go to that time and date and bookmark it for later, and it'll hold it in the system so we can go back to it, as well as record and share video footage. So before we're having to download it, transfer it, now we can do it with links and other things that really, and can actually time out the footage. So if we send out a link, someone can view it for a period of time, and then we can shut it off. So that helps us with that exchange. Our middle school sensors, as I said, do send alerts to admin and campus supervisors, both via email and a pop-up. And so that's coded for them so they can see those. So for the video, can you go back one? And the video queued up here. Thank you. Okay, so can you pause it for a second and on the enlarge? Okay. So on the video system, what you see here, this is, and what I have is just a view of some areas from our various campuses. One of these over here, as you can see up at the very top, are some green sensor lights up here. These cameras, and we have multiple cameras engaged to be kind of pointing near and around the bathroom areas at the middle schools. So that way we can see when a sensor goes off. The sensors themselves have the ability to not only pick up air quality, vaping, there are also some noise elements to it. It's not recording people talking, but it's gives alerts if there's like a commotion or something happening in those restrooms. So with these green sensors, those are all, that tells us they're tied to the cameras, and you can go in and search alerts as well as see them in playback. If you want to go ahead and roll that footage. Thank you. All right. So as you can see, we've got some clarity in and around. Each one of the campuses had their own challenges for camera placement with the eaves and all of that. Again, we're working on some of those pieces. but as you can see here, we've got some camera counts. I can zoom in on a student, and let's say, go ahead and pause for a moment. I'd like to see all students that have a backpack during the day. We're trying to see what's happening with backpacks or whatever it is. I'm able to do a quick people search. The robustness of this, again, is if you go ahead and pull it one more time, go ahead and play. Is you'll see it start popping up, all instances where we have students with backpacks. The nice thing is it does take the human quality to be able to identify and pinpoint which one we'd like to maybe see. So it's going to pull up all kids. It gives a timestamp where we've seen it. And let's say, okay, we want to select a particular one to track. And maybe we pick a purple shirt with a backpack. So it'll pick out those instances of purple shirt with backpack. There's other things that you can do within it if you want to pause one more time, where you can just cue like colored shirts, gender, any of those types of things, just to be able to see, especially through an investigation if you're trying to track movement or any of those types of things. Go ahead. The other piece with the Zoom, this is out in front of one of our other campuses. You're able to pull in, I just to see the clarity of the selection. I did blur out a couple of things on this, like faces and other things. But as you can see, you can zoom in on license plates, and I'm sure someone might recognize their car, but not their license plate, because I did blur out some of it. I did want to show some of the clarity, though. So that does have that viewing. The other piece of that is, if you'll notice, we've got some boxes around this. Purple indicates vehicles. The blue indicates motion from individuals walking. And so the cool thing with that is if we wanted to, say, track down a white pickup truck for any reason, we can ask it to look for vehicles, color, those types of things as well for those investigations. And as you can see in these timelines, I'm in a playback mode right now. I'm rewinding to see some action. This is lunch, not too much action, but kids running around having some fun. We can get some people counts in here in the corner as we're going through. You notice there the little toggles going from 8 to 10. Sometimes people overlap, but you have an idea of how many people are in a particular area at one time, which is really nice, again, for that human quality of, hey, we got a lot of kids kind of over here. Let's maybe get a person to maybe monitor, not for any reason other than just keeping things safe. You'll notice there's also boxes for people counts that are on here that show action as well. All right. We also have in all of our campuses in the foyers, or at least pointing to the front offices where we don't have a foyer, all entrances have camera systems, so we're able to see all the cameras. Again, various angles allow us to see things and do counts. And you'll notice here in this next one, I'm setting it up to see some of the multiple camera angles. You see here where it says task 18 and 19, it has 0.1, 2, and 3. That's one dome camera, but it has 3 separate camera angles on it to be able to see out and give a wider view rather than a bullet point and shoot type camera. And here's what I'm doing is I'm on this particular one, I'm loading the cameras to be able to see various views from that task. So this is all one camera, but it has multiple views pointing out to the campus for the supervision. I'm able to go into this, and as it drags over, I can change layouts. So in this particular one, I've got more of a panoramic look with 3 cameras underneath, but I can change the panes to have even multiple cameras running all at the same time. One of the instances that you'll see here in a second is the time increments. I can set them up to be all at the same time for that camera view. And here in a second, you're going to see as it's rolling through, you see a gentleman walking through here. You can see his shadow coming up over here. And in a second, he's going to pop up and walk in through the system. So that was all a live view at the time. In the playback mode, it also did the person count. In the playback mode, I was able to see, you see the spike here, it's showing there's an instance of a number of people walking. You'll see students up in an upper quadrant over here walking. They're marked by a people box. Here in a second, you see them in the corner. And now in another second, you see in the playback it coming across here for the increment. Again, that's one of the features that one of the principals pointed out was really nice because sometimes instances happen over an area, so they're wanting to see everything in the frame. So that, and you saw the night view that was up. That's just the shot of New Republic at night. So it has a really good clarity so we can tell the difference between a raccoon and a human being encroaching on campus. So if we get those late night reports, that's it. So I just really want to thank, again, the team in working all the hours and getting these installed. And I really very much look forward to all the trainings and things that we have with the system.
Any board comments?
Yeah, it looks really good. I appreciate the new system we have. I know on the it said that it records up to 35 to 45 days. I know sometimes for incidents that take place, sometimes the feedback can be further. How is that kind of determined? And is it possible to record it longer if needed? I'm just seeing sometimes there's incidents that you might want to go back further, but if it's erased after 30 days or 35 days.
Yeah, and so that's one of the things I'm working with Quovo with to see. I'm not sure if we'd have to pay for a little bit longer length of cloud storage, but really 45 days is a pretty good increment. And as I said, with those instances, we can bookmark, and that will reserve it for a long time. So if we know of an instance that was happening, we can bookmark it, and it'll still keep it in perpetuity for as long as need be.
I was thinking more you wouldn't discover the incident.
Oh, yeah, in that, yeah, in for the discovery. Yeah, I understand what you're saying with that,
but either way, it looks really good. A lot of features that'll definitely help out staff.
Great.
Thank you to everybody for the huge amount of work that the grant writing and the installation, everything else. The question that I had, because we're adding classrooms, I'm assuming that that we've used up the grant, and as we add classrooms, that's going to come out of our own funds.
Yes. Yes, for the expansion.
Anybody else? Okay. All right, thank you very much. That was an excellent presentation. All right, we're going to move forward with our agendized items, our action items actually, and we're going to go to 9.4 first, which is approval of Yonder cell phone pouches for 6th through 8th grade. I'm going to go down the line, maybe start with Cindy and just some input.
Since I kind of already put an info, I could revise afterwards. I'm sorry, I kind of spoke over it.
Okay.
So,
all right.
I did listen to teachers from Santa Rita. I reached out to the middle schools in Salinas Union High School District. My initial feelings have really changed over time in terms of I was very much in favor of the pouches in the past. At this point, that's not the way that I feel about it in terms of we have such limited resources, and I need to feel like every dollar that I'm spending is going exactly where it needs to go. I will say that the feedback from the high school district was extremely positive, and they felt like they had real problems that have really been solved. But in terms of moving forward for Santa Rita at this time is not something that I'm in favor of.
Okay, so I met with, Jacob and I met with a couple of teachers and 3 teachers and a principal. And after looking at or visiting the sites, the 2 middle schools, Hardin Middle School, of course, Hardin Middle School, it's in their first year, I believe, of cell phone pouches. It gave me a big picture of what it entails. But I from listening to the teachers and the policies that they're following with the cell phones in their classrooms, it looks like from last year to this year, it's gotten much better. It's improved. And I say, give it more time. Give it more time. It's just like any other thing you want to implement. You don't know whether you're really going to do that particular whatever we're voting on, but I just say, give it more time. And also the teachers are saying, give it more time. I think they're doing a good job right now with really implementing the policy. And if we've got a policy in the district already, we should just give it another year, and let's see how it pans out. But that's what I feel about it. Well, there's a lot of other things I could say too, but I guess we have to listen to teachers, and we have to really, one comment that was made from a couple of teachers were, why are they asking us for our opinion if we're going to implement, the board is going to implement it anyway? So I really think we need to listen, and we need to just stop and think, and the money, but the money wise too. It is a big expense. So let's just try and give it more time.
Okay, well, I got to attend the two school sites. It was a really good conversation back and forth. And one of the reasons why I wanted to have that is because I know at board meetings it's always tough to have those type of dialogues. So I wanted to be able to have more of a back and forth where there's more kind of an exchange of ideas. I think something from the surveys actually did come out. I know there was a teacher that had mentioned, it's only 11% of teachers. We were kind of looking more at middle school teachers. And for me, not that saying pouches are the answer necessarily, but I still feel that the surveys did bring up an issue that there is an issue of cell phone use. And I think even when I met with some of the teachers and, Julie was there and stuff, is I think there was enough teachers that was a cause for concern that at least we need a plan if pouches are not the answer, where some comments were made like, well, maybe it's teachers that having, established good classroom management or whatever the case is. But I think I felt like there was enough voices in there. And I think I looked at the numbers. I think it was of middle school teachers who filled out the surveys, I think it was close to like 47% that said that they felt like there were some issues of cell phone use in their classroom and also at lunchtime. So that was an alarming read for myself. They did mention, and I didn't know this, that the cell phone policy had been more, I guess, implemented this past year and then this year. So one of the kind of thoughts we went kind of into is maybe do a follow-up survey after some months to see if it's improved. Because if there is teachers out there that are having issues, we do need to have a plan in place, because obviously it's impacting either learning or lunchtime. So when I visited John Gutierrez, it was interesting because they talked to some of the staff and they said, we never really see it at lunchtime. And then it happens that when I came, there was two groups of students that had cell phones out. So it was kind of the thing, I don't know if it was just bad timing, but I think, not to say that pouches are the answer, but I think that it's good to have conversations, and finding out that there might be an issue is not a bad thing as in itself, as far as like, why is there a problem? But it's an opportunity, right? To figure out if there is a problem, how can we support either the teachers or staff to what's kind of going on. So what I kind of came through the conversation was, okay, if you guys don't believe cell phone pouches are the problem, provide some solutions. Because I think I didn't want to just hear and says, well, it's only the majority of teachers are not teachers. I said, well, that's true. Thankfully, it's not the majority. If it was the majority, I'd really have concerns. But even if it's 25 or 40%, that's too many teachers, or even if it's 5%, if I think 5 or 10%, I think that's 5 classrooms that are having issues with cell phone. That's a lot of students that are impacting their learning. That's the way I tend to take a look at it, is the cell phone patches. That's what the initial issue was. Like, if there's 5 teachers that says they have issues with cell phone use in their classroom, 5 times 25 students or whatever, that's a lot of students that are having their learning impacted. So I think what we came out of that meeting, which was really good, was some opportunities with, like, let's create a plan. If it has to do with PD days, right? Or having spaces where maybe teachers can share some of their concerns or kind of stuff. So I'm open to that as long as there's a plan. Then I can see why we can say, more time is needed as long as, hey, like there's an effort, right? Because we did hear, I know there was a teacher today that said, hey, I let my kids listen to music. Totally understand that. But it also kind of creates the inconsistency sometimes because it's like, hey, so-and-so teacher allows me to use it and so-and-so doesn't allow me to use it. So obviously there's some inconsistency can happen. I think what I'm open to, and we continue to have more conversations as a board, is we need to have a plan in place. And if we don't see the results are improving, right, because it's all data driven, right? If we do another survey with teachers and the same percent of teachers still say that there's cell phone issues, right, and we've implemented the process longer, then we do need to figure out other solutions because it's not so much people were focusing on the product itself, but the way I saw it was, if there's disruptions in the classroom taking place as a result of cell phone usage, then that's a learning loss, right? That's taking place for the students. And that's where I saw the potential investment that might need to be needed, was if there's teachers that aren't able to deal with the cell phone use, and so we're helping them in a way, have an extra aid in the classroom, right? Because if it, and I did hear a lot of times people say, well, there is kids that are gonna look for a way around it, right? But if that's the case, it's almost like, why have any rules in general? Because somebody's going to find a way around it, right? And that's not the case. You try to find ways to lower the amount of students that will do it, right? And I was thinking of something of seatbelts. At first, seatbelts, you had to wear seatbelts. And then eventually not enough people wore it, so you got to get a ticket. And so it's like, you find ways to lower the amount of students. You're still going to have somebody that doesn't wear seatbelts, even though they're going to get a ticket, and even though it's against the law. But at least you try to minimize the effort. And I think that's what I'm trying to look for and give direction with the superintendent. It's like, what plan are we going to come up with that minimizes the cell phone usage? So when we do these surveys to teachers, right, and it's important for them to be open and honest if they're having issues, like, we need to have results driven, right? But if it doesn't work, when we come back and say cell phone pouches, it's like, we gave it a shot, right? And I think that's kind of what I wanted to kind of engage in the conversation. And I think, a lot of times, if you guys have a lot of concerns, I've always, since I've been on the school board, been open to meeting with anybody and having those type of dialogues, because I think this space is good for everybody to speak, but I think obviously the one-on-one helps. So I encourage you, if there's issues in the future, and I'm sure anybody here on the board would be open to meeting as well, to ask for that space, or superintendent can reach out and say, hey, can we have another ad hoc committee where 2 board members can meet? This is a kind of a concern we have. So.
Okay, I want to step back a little bit and explain to the teachers here where I came from. And that was this idea, I must protect this district. I must protect the students and especially the staff. Media is getting worse, not better. The proliferation of AI, students recording videos inappropriately through their cell phones, and then spreading it, it's not localized anymore. And I understand Gavilan View and JG, we have a special community. And we've had a small family for so long. And we've been able to control things. And we've been able to handle things. But this is not the same world we live in anymore. We live in a global world now, where one picture, one AI, one photo can destroy an entire teacher's life in terms of employment. And God knows the bullying and the AI stuff that goes on. There's an explosion going on up there. And we can't sit here and close our eyes and ears and say, well, it doesn't affect us. It hasn't affected us. Yes, we have a small family. And so my whole thing was, how do we get ahead of this? It's not a question of if, it's only a question of when. And I understand 85, 90% of the students don't use a cell phone. That's great. Those are not the ones I'm worried about. I'm worried about the one bad actor, maybe 2. And then what do? Then I have a teacher exposed in the media. I have a student being bullied or God knows what AI. And we as a district have to deal with this? And then what will you come back and say? So this came from an idea of protection. How do I protect my teachers? Other teachers have lost employment already because of stuff, AI and videos the students have produced. There have been students who have committed suicide because of the bullying and online videos that have been recorded. And I hear you, teachers, I do, but when you say I don't want to hear about teachers, I do want to hear about teachers. But when I went to Hardin, I asked teachers, do you deal with the cell phone? They said, no, the classified staff, they deal with it. We have nothing to do with the pouches anymore. And every school that's implemented it, they've had much better results. And so I hear you, teachers, I do. But I want to protect you. This didn't come from any idea of, hey, let's ram something down anyone's throat. It's not a question of if, the question is when. If any one of you believes that you are protected from not having a one bad actor recording a video and edit it and then put it on air and then explode, you tell me now. Where's that protection you're telling me about? I love this school. I love this district. I want to protect you guys. And unfortunately, this exploded into another situation. And yes, we're going to probably vote it down. And we're bringing it back next year. I pray, I hope that between now and next year, not a single video of a bullying or fighting is recorded and spread on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I pray that doesn't happen. But this part of me knows that I can't guarantee that. This is the world we live in. So, having said that, that's where I'm coming from. I love the teachers of this district. I will fight for you. The reason I joined this board was because this was the lowest paid district in the county, if not the city. And my one promise to the teachers was we would always be on the top of that pay range. And I've honored my commitment year after year after year. Ask the CBO. And yes, our costs are going up. And what do we do after the healthcare? We unilaterally agreed to subsidize it even further. And at the time when we negotiated a pay raise, we didn't know about the increase in health insurance. It was a real pay raise. If there's somebody to blame this national healthcare system. We're not the enemy. Last board meeting, we voted to improve and subsidize the health and welfare benefits. And that's why we get a little upset sometimes, or I do. We got to think outside of the box. I got to think about the future. So yes, this is probably going to go down. I understand that. But the question is why? Why did I even push this? Why haven't I even started this conversation? Was it out of a negative thing? Let me create a way to create additional burdens on teachers? Is this what was made to get them all upset at me? Is that my intention? So here we are. I pray we don't have any negative stuff that happens on mass media. I do. Every day. But I teach high school students every day. I see what goes on. And to protect this district is my number one duty. And I will always fight for that. And I will always be outspoken on that. Thank you very much. Any other questions from the board? Let's go ahead and go for the vote.
Yeah, I motion with direction to create a plan for now not to approve the cell phone patches, but with a direction to figure out a plan so we can reduce the concerns that were brought up in the survey.
I would second that too.
I think so. What you're actually asking is that we table this item and bring back a plan. Yeah, instead. Okay. So can I get a second for tabling 9.4 and the directive that we bring back a plan? So Mr. Patel seconds. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion 5-0.
Okay, we'll give everybody an opportunity in case you want to stay for the rest of the meeting, great. But if you want to step out off to the action item, then that's okay too. And thank you everybody for the comments.
When you guys said table, what is that? How is that? You guys didn't give us a time frame. When they were talking, as I don't know if I'm allowed to talk, so I'm going to tell them to shut up too. Is you guys talked about maybe next year. So when you guys said we're going to table it, how long is that? Is that like 2 weeks? Is that a year? Is that, I don't know, 6 months?
So with the general table directive like this, it would be tabled until the board requested that we bring it back for an action in the future. Something can be tabled and it can be tabled indefinitely as such. So as the superintendent, I've been given a directive to come back with a plan in lieu of this item moving forward. Does that make sense? Yeah. And so I know, and if it's okay, I'll just clarify a little more. In our conversations with teachers in the boardroom and then at JG the following day, we talked about getting some more qualitative conversations going with teachers rather than sending you another survey, because I know those are fun. And that, right, to ask, well, tell me about that, right? And then what can we do to make the current policy stronger? And what can we do for any of those teachers who do feel like there's a management issue or a cell phone issue because of that, right? So, I'm not going to make a plan in isolation. I would make a plan collaboratively.
Help other people understand.
Absolutely.
More clarification
Yep.
of what that timeline means. Because a lot of people weren't in those
Yep.
meetings, and we haven't had the opportunity to talk to everybody.
Agree.
If they're empty. And so that's why.
Yep. So I can send out some additional communication about setting up some time and space again for those conversations and where we can make a plan that we feel is good to bring back to our board at a future meeting. Sound good?
We do like what we did with like the community something
Yeah.
like that. Because it was really nice talking to you guys. I told you that before. Really nice to have you to listen and go back and forth.
Thanks for letting me have the time to explain that.
Next item, 9.1.
Hey, girlfriend.
I see you on Friday?
So 9.1 is for the verbal summary of the financial terms and approval of the superintendent's contract for 2024 through 2027. Dr. Alderman's contract is currently set to expire on June 30th, 2025 at the end of this school year. The approval of this contract will supersede her current contract and extend her employment through June 30th of 2027. So the verbal summary of financial terms must be read aloud either by the board president or his designee before a board action is taken on the next item.
Would you like to? Here we go. All right. Summary of financial terms of superintendent's employment agreement. The district will, let me increase size here. The district will consider approving an extension of the superintendent's contract. A summary of the financial terms are as follows. Number 1, the term of Dr. Alderman's employment as superintendent will be for a term beginning July 1st, 2024 to and including June 30th, 2027. Number 2, the base salary of the superintendent for 2024 through 2025 school year will be $239,715. Step 4 of the superintendent's salary schedule. Number 4, the superintendent will continue to be provided with the same health insurance benefits that are provided to other certificated management employees in the district. Number 5, the superintendent will not be paid a monthly allowance for an automobile or for cell phone. Travel outside of Monterey County will be reimbursed in accordance to the district policy. Number 6, The district will pay for the superintendent's membership in the Association of California School Administrators and the California Association of School Business Officials. Number 7, the superintendent will have a work year of 225 days with no vacation days. Number 8, the contract provides that the board may terminate the superintendent without cause, but if the right is exercised by the board, the district will pay the superintendent her salary and benefits for a period not to exceed 12 months or the remainder of the term of the contract, whichever is less. Did I skip 3? Actually, the numbering system was off. I apologize. Is there a number 3?
If there's numbers.
So numbers 4 through 8 should be renumbered 3 through 7. Thank you for that modification. As amended. Okay, at this motion, do we entertain a motion?
Yeah.
Yeah, for discussion.
Yes. You have to read that and then call for an action.
Comment, Sarah?
Are we at, that was just 9.1, so are we at 9.2? Okay. I have a request if we could pass it on to our HR department. Just so that the public is aware, we do an evaluation of the superintendent every year, and this approaching summer when we do the evaluation, I would appreciate it if the HR department was able to get us comparisons of superintendent salaries in Monterey County, and based on also looking at enrollment. We haven't done that in several years, and just so that everybody knows, we do that with the teachers, we do that with the classified, we did that with the superintendent when we originally created a salary table, and we have not. The other groups have gotten raises in that time, which we have not adjusted the superintendent's salary. I am not saying that we are going to adjust it in the summer, but I feel like we need to go through a process when we do the evaluation to look at if what we're doing is comparable or not. And also, motion to approve.
Do we need to amend the numbering?
You mentioned it verbally.
Can I get a second?
I second.
You can call them.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? No. I myself.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
I keep moving back and forth. Here we go. All right, 9.2, approval employment contract for Assistant Superintendent of Education Services. Was that taken? We just did that, right?
No, you just did mine.
Oh, I'm sorry, assistant. Sorry about that. All right.
The Assistant Superintendent of Ed Services contract is set to end currently June 30th, 2025. This contract would supersede her current contract and would have an end date of June 30th, 2027.
Any comments, board members? Can I get a motion, please?
Motion to approve.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion 5-0.
All right, 9.3, approval of resolution 24.12.23, improvements of facilities exempt from DSA requirements.
Thank you. This resolution is for the Field Act for the storage sheds that are going in at 5 of our sites, because Gavilan View is covered under a prior resolution to have a storage shelter. This is the board agreeing that these storage sheds will not be used by students and teachers as an instructional space, and is required for us to be able to have these on our campuses.
Motion to approve.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion 5-0.
All right, 9.5, approval of contract with Monterey County Arts Council for New Republic.
Thank you. With our Proposition $28, we are required to allocate additional art services to each school in our district. So this contract would support that and would also support beautification of the campus with a mural.
Motion to approve, and if you haven't seen the other murals, go and see them because they're awesome.
Second, same thing. We were just in two different sites, and I've seen the one in Gavilan View in person, and some pictures of Santa Rita. It makes it very more welcoming to our school, so definitely it's awesome to see.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion 5-0.
All right, next item, 9.6, approval of first interim budget report for 24-25 school year.
Good evening. I'm gonna go ahead and stand up so you can probably hear me better. I have a presentation and you should have a copy in your, by your seat or on your desk. So this is the first interim budget report. This is kind of like the real budget. This is after we already closed the book, so we have real beginning balances now. We roll those forward. We have more accurate data. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and be presenting. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide. Some of the highlights for this presentation during my July 1st. I'm going to be comparing my numbers to the July 1st budget because that was the last budget that I brought here to the board. I know we talk about the state COLA, which is still at 1%, and what would be the COLA at the district level. Back when I was doing the July 1st budget, back in May, we were projecting a negative 3%. It came now to a negative 2% for the main reason, as I explained on my summary budget letter, is due to the collection of the income forms this year, which the district did a great effort. So usually when that happens, if we are losing, for example, 100 students and we have 80% of them that are unduplicated, meaning they qualify for their low income, they're a migrant, or they qualify for free lunches, usually 80% of those students will be the ones that, if they leave, it would be 80% of those because that's pretty much our percentage. Now, what happened in this case is that even though the number of total students decreased district-wide, with the increase of the collection of the forms, our district actually recuperates some money for the LCAP funding. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. There is an LCFF reduction, not as bad as the projected in the July 1st. Again, now we close the books. We got more funding on the LCAP due to the income forms. So instead of being a negative 1.4, it came out to $843,000 comparing to last year funding. Okay. Some of the other challenges that we have is special education increases as the number of students keep increasing and the needs that they need keep increasing every year. We have the challenge of every year we have, teachers and staff will go up on the step and column, benefits are going up. Also inflation, as you know, operating costs is going up as well. Everything in regards to things that we need to continue our operations, such as, for example, or absence frontline system or accounting system or electricity, the bills that we pay every year as well is going up. So all of that affects of how much money we have. Something that I really want to focus as well is the shift of funding as we're moving towards this new year. As you know, we had a lot of that one-time funding. There is a lot of that shift of funding that as we talk about budget reductions on the unrestricted funding, there is money that we keep getting on only restricted funds. So I want to explain this because I know in the community or with the teachers or staff, they might see like, hey, we're talking about budget reductions. We're talking about we don't have the funding. How can you afford doing this for music or for arts? There are specific grants that come from the state that are restricted that we can only use it for those specific programs. So I'm sorry. So I want to make sure that we all understand this, and the more that I mention, hopefully you get familiar. It's not because we're discriminating or we don't want to allocate funds. These funds are pretty much coming from the state. They're telling us where we need to spend. Something that I want to highlight as well is in your criterion and standard form from the packet. I know it's pretty big, but if you look, I believe it's page 21 around there is a section that talks about the salaries and benefits percentage out of the unrestricted fund. And for this year, the 24-25, we're at 81%. If we continue everything as we are doing right now and we don't do any cuts, next year is projected to be at 88% and then 91%. And as I mentioned before, anything over 85% is already a red flag, something that we need to watch for. With this budget, and we talk about on the previous presentations that we needed to make adjustments because we were going into the deficit spending. We talk about the ADA cliff and how we're going to have this dip of funding, this reduction, and how to balance the budget. So something that I want to highlight is that we need to recognize this year on 2024, 2025, budget cuts for $2 million so we can maintain our reserves for the next following year. And then on 26, 27, an additional $1 million as well. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide. This is pretty much based on the adoption of the budget from the state. Does the state COLA? Does the district COLA? Like I said, we are a negative 2%. Or district enrollment, we lost 99 students compared to last year enrollment. Or ADA to enrollment percentage is still at 92. And then just some of the numbers for CalSTAR, SPURS, and unemployment rate. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. Student enrollment, this is just a graph so you can see pretty much a little bit of history starting on 2020, 2021 during the COVID years. That was like the biggest drop that we had, losing 164 students. As you know, the district get funded on current year or prior 3 years. So last year when we were here, we were getting funded on these 3 years. So as you can see, we were still getting funded on the highest enrollment. This year on 2024, 25, we're getting funded on this lower 3 years. So as you can see, this is the ADA cliff that they've been talking about. And this is why we have a reduction in funding in the LCFF.
You know, Rosa, this graph above anything else is probably the most shocking for me. This graph is probably the most shocking for me. You know, this is our primary bread and butter here. This is our income driver, and this massive reduction, you know, more than 10%. You know, from almost 3,500 all the way down to almost 3,000. You know, and it fits our demographics. You know, as the prices of homes are going up, we have less younger families moving in. And so this trend is very alarming. And so I'm just always worried about the next 3 years coming after that. And so as I'm looking at this, that's what my main concern is how do we protect what we have, knowing that if the demographics don't change, that we're in for a tough 3, 4, maybe 5 years.
Thank you. And just to follow up to what you were mentioning, on the last conference that I attended, they did mention that statewide, they're on decline enrollment by 11%. So this last year for us was at 3%, which is lower than the state rate. But again, we are declining. It's been since the first year to 2024 to current year, we lost a total of 383 students. With that being said, we haven't made any reductions in staff. We're trying to be very cautious and making sure that the savings that we do, we don't disrupt the students or the staff as well. So, so that's pretty much something that to take a look. And again, we do get funded on attendance and enrollment. We can go ahead and go to the next graph. So with that being said, for LCFF funding, just not to get it confused, when I was talking about the budget reduction on the LCFF, I was comparing it to last year. Now we're gonna be comparing to the July 1st budget because that's the last budget that it was board approved. So I'm gonna be comparing those numbers. LCFF funding came in higher, again, mainly due because as we close in the years, we're getting final numbers on enrollment. Anything also the changes for MCOE, special ed student enrollment, it does affect my LCFF calculations. So all of that is included in there, but mainly about 400K, it was due to the income forms that I do want to thank Summer's team for making those phone calls, making sure they were following up. Not only that, but they were reviewing the forms, and then they see something look weird, that it wasn't filled out correctly. Staff was picking up the phone, calling it, and making sure that what the information that they put in there was correctly. So in regards to unduplicated account, we were at 85% of the students, meaning pretty much low income. This year, we're at 87%. So that number increased, again, thanks to the collection of the forms. In regards to federal revenue, about $500,000 came for that safety grant that Krisha was just talking about. It's gonna cover the purchase of the cameras. We included that in there. On the state revenue, most of it, about $1 million of additional funding based on a new allocation from the state on the ELOP. So this is where I'm talking about the shifting of funding, right? While we are getting less money on our LCFF compared to last year, here it is more money for ELOP and arts and music and things like that. So that's most of the increase in there. As well as the CalShape grant. We got about half of it last year, and now we're budgeting again this year. We thought we were gonna finish the project. That was kind of like a summer project. It went over to July, so we have to budget in July for the new year. That was part of the increase as well. In regards to local revenue, we had a small decrease due to a special education grant that we received from MCOE. And when it comes to salaries and benefits, so as you can see on certificated salaries, we are including that one-time payment for certificated unit only for $2,700 at one time. There's also a lot of changes in regards to salaries and benefits. We had this projection, July 1st was in May. So now with new teachers coming in, any movement that happened during the summer, it also includes 6 positions of savings. We had a meeting with HR, Melissa, Becky, and everyone pretty much looking at some positions that we didn't fill this year, we didn't fill last year, and some of them even prior year. So in regards to having more accurate budget and more accurate information, it does include those savings for these positions in there. In regards to classified salaries, some savings due to vacancies. When we upload vacancies, it's showing savings from July through the end of November. So for those vacancies that we didn't hire, there is the savings included in there. Now, when it comes to the benefits, we did provide an increase on the benefit cap to the teacher unit for a 10%. That is included in there. There was open enrollment in November, as I was able to capture the most up-to-date information. So as we excluded those 6 positions and the benefits that we're not gonna pay, and as the employees are getting signed up for the new plans, we do see an overall reduction. In regards to books and supplies, pretty much funding from lottery, that was for more book adoption for this year. Some of the items arrive in June, some of them in July. So we have to coordinate there and budget this year, moving the funding from last year to this year. Other services include mostly on the camera installation that Krisha was talking about. There is a district match for about $600K that is included there. So it's included the $500,000 grant plus the district match for the specific grant. And then capital outlay as well. And other services also include a one-time project for our district office. As you know, we have a safety concern as we have the glass door and cannot be locked from the inside. So if there's an emergency that we need to lock and protect our employees inside, somebody have to sacrifice themselves pretty much and close it, lock it from the outside. So there are some changes there. There's also plans for painting the office as well. Those funds that we're going to be utilizing, it is restricted funds for specifically for facilities that we get through our grants. On the 7,000s, the last line that you see on expenses is pretty much the bill back from MCOE. As they get more students and as they have now more accurate data, or expense for that increase by about 300K. Overall,
Quick question on that chart. So some of the items you kind of mentioned are like one-time expenses that are making like the cameras and stuff. And like the grant that we got from the cameras, did we receive that money this year or was it received the prior?
this year. So it's based on reimbursement until we spend the funds, then we get the money. We apply for it. We already have the grant. We have the grant letter. We apply for the grant. We got it. But now when they issue the cash, it's pretty much as we spend it, they're going to be issuing that cash. It's based on
So
reimbursement.
the cash that we're receiving, for example, for that grant, is that reflected in there or not till we go to the receipt and then it'll be on the updated one or?
Yeah, so there is another form with the cash flow.
Sure.
This is pretty much just budgeting, saying we're going to get the cash
Saying we're gonna
because
get
we
it already.
are going to
Yeah,
get,
because
we're
we're
going
gonna
to
get it.
finish that project this year.
Correct. And I know in the letter you kind of mentioned that there's sometimes vacant positions, but you mentioned part of that savings is already there because you said 1.7 in
Vacancies, yeah.
Vacancies, yeah.
So the 1.7 is pretty much active positions that are on pretty much on EdJoy that are needed, that the district still needs and are currently hiring. Yeah, so and those are pretty much from anything from December all the way through the end of June. So as I make my next budget revision in March or sooner, if we have any big impact in the overall budget, then there's going to be savings if we don't hire those people, savings from July all the way through February. That's usually when I build the budget and so on. Okay. Let's see. So at the end of revenue and expenses, we're still at the negative or deficit spending of $6.6 million. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. So this is part of the unrestricted ending fund balance. As you might see, when you look at the overall Fund 1, you might see more funding, but remember that a lot of that funding, it is restricted. We have to use it for those specific regulations that the state or federal funds are telling us to use the funds for. And just a reminder that 17% of our reserves, it would only cover about 2 months of our expenses, about 3 to 4 months of salaries and benefits if we don't pay stipends or extra hours, it depends. So it really is 17% is not a lot, and that doesn't solve the issue for deficit spending. What it does, for example, for this year is to help us have a little bit more time or having this year to decide where we need to make the cuts. So our reserves is not something that's gonna fix the deficit spending problem. We can go to the next slide. So as you can see, I'm gonna make sure I don't trip. This is the current year. On this year, if you see the total expenses, we're decreasing it as our one-time funds are decreasing. So we're decreasing the revenue for those one-time funds, but we're also decreasing the expenses. In here, if you look at your multi-year projection, it is already included the $2 million cut. So if we don't make the $2 million cut on this year, instead of a negative $3 million, this could be a negative $5 million. And then if we don't do anything about it, instead of doing $2 million, it's gonna be 4 because it's already 2 years. So it's really important that we recognize that this year, so it doesn't overlap and it get us into a bigger problem. If you look at the MYP, it doesn't state where we're making the cut. It just says that we acknowledge, the district acknowledges that we have to make that cut. In case we didn't, let's say we don't recognize that and we leave it like that, I would get a call from the county and say, you need to fix this. This is not gonna get approved because you're not meeting your minimum requirement. So as the district, and I don't know if you saw on the approval of the budget, this time I added an additional paragraph where it does state that we acknowledge that we have to make that cut. And the district also acknowledges that if anything major changes, that it's gonna change that $2 million to a different number, I'm gonna come here and present to you another budget with the revisions.
I know you mentioned that it's the expenditures are going down because we're expending some of the one-time costs.
That's correct.
Correct. Okay. Because I noticed the biggest year obviously is deficit spending of 6.6 million. Is some of the larger spending one-time funds that we have received in prior years and now is being spent this year?
Yes. So a lot of the funds that we have is or learning recovery as well, which it also have some staff salaries in there because it is also restricted, and we move some positions, or when we hire new positions, it was specifically for that specific reason, like mental health and counseling and things like that. Yes, we have our PD grant as well that's been helping out through the years. So we are spending out little by little, and that's why our expenses are decreasing, or revenue is decreasing as well.
Okay. How much of the 6.6 would you say was part of one-time funds that we had received in the past and was shown on the report as that year?
So we have our fund one, we have the restricted and then the unrestricted, and right now I'm covering about the combined.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that over $3 million was part of the restricted and part of the funding that we need to spend out because we're not going to have it next year.
Yeah, and part of the reason I mention it, because I know kind of what happens is sometimes they get asked questions from the public. It's like, hey, how did you go from deficit spending 3 million to now it's 6 million? Like, how can you not catch it? But some of it is like money that you're spending out that you had to receive the prior years. I mean, we're still having deficit spending in general, which is still an issue.
That's correct.
But the amount of the deficit spending is kind of, I can't think of a better word, but like skewed in a way because it's money that you had already received in the prior,
Yes.
and you're now reflecting the spending of it this year. So. Yeah, you got the revenue in prior year, but you're spending it in this year and stuff.
Correct. So to give you a visual, the money, for example, if we got money on last year and we didn't spend in all of it because some of that money we're spending it by year, that money is sitting right here right now at the end. So when you're taking your revenue, you're adding your expense because you want to spend this money here. And because it's at the bottom, it does create the deficit spending. It's not at the top anymore. It's at the bottom. And there are different rules for some grants. Some of them are based on reimbursement, kind of. So if you spend it, you get it. If you don't, then you have to recognize it the next year. And some of them is like, here's the money. And we have it right here. And we're just slowly spending it.
No, I just want to say thank you for the presentation. I do apologize. I have to leave. I kept pushing another meeting that I have afterwards, 7:30, 7:45, but it's beyond where I can push it. So I apologize for leaving early.
We can go to the next slide. Right, so some of the challenges, like I mentioned before, decline enrollment over the 5 years, reduction based on LCFF and the one-time funds as well, increases on special ed, operating costs. I feel like I already did that slide for some reason. It's repetitive. We can go to the next one. I already talked about that. All right, so some of the highlights that I want to mention is that the district has been making an effort for doing savings. As you know, we have been offering early retirement incentives for the probably last 3 years or so, which has been able to slowly saving money over the years. Like I said, we already identified 6 positions that it doesn't interrupt classroom or anyone because they have been vacant on the last year, 2 years, or even 3 years. We're also making sure that all of the department's budget and school sites maintain balance, meaning that if they're interested on something else, another emergency came up, they're gonna have to balance their budget. They cannot add more to the deficit spending. They either gonna have to cut somewhere or prioritize if they wanna implement this new program or this new expensive. It's gonna be, I want to do this, but I'm going to reduce it here, keeping that budget balance. I already talked about the shift of funding. It might seem that we're spending on things that maybe not everyone is in agreement. Again, this is coming from the state, and it's the money that we get, we're going to spend it. Student attendance drives revenue. 1% of attendance can be worth about $400K. It depends on the student, if it's unduplicated, if it's just a regular student. Just to give you an idea, 1 day of absence is worth about $95. So if for the community or the parents that are hearing about that meeting, if your student, if you're planning a vacation or a doctor's appointment or whatever it is, something that you can manage to do during the time after school or during the summer, winter, when the kids are not in school, that can really help out with the district budgeting. I recommend that to push those appointments or those vacations when the kids are not in school, besides that the students are missing on academics as well, which is really, really important. And then something that I wanted to highlight too that I didn't add it on the slide is that teachers, and they might ask like, how can we help, or is there anything that they can do to help? And something that I was analyzing is that we have been spending a lot of money on substitute teachers. So again, recommending the teachers that if they're planning to do vacation or they're planning to doctor's appointment or whatever they have, instead of hiring a substitute, if they can do it after their work time or during, during their time off, that will be great. Just to give you an example, pre-COVID, we used to spend about $300,000 on substitute teachers. This last year that we closed the books, 23-24, we spent $1.2 million. So it has been more
On
than
behalf of
double.
teachers everywhere, you just can't get appointments. The post-COVID world is different.
Yeah,
and
it is.
I just have to speak up for my colleagues in terms of I don't know that there's much they can do.
Thank you for sharing that. I was giving some ideas. Yeah, that has been increased a lot, and yeah, it as you can see, that was pre-COVID. After COVID, it went up to 742 on the 21-22, 22-23, $1 million, and this last year, $1.2 million. So yeah, it has been increasing significantly. So if they can, great, and then if they can't, then we'll just continue to have the best efforts as we can. So this is our ASB fund moving forward. Pretty much not a lot of changes, additional 2,000. They're been doing great, staying on their budget. They're doing popcorn sales and pretty much everything that they do for the fundraising. I'm not gonna go into detail, but not a lot of changes there. We can go ahead and move to the next slide. This is the cafeteria. Something just to highlight there is that revenue slightly came down as some of the grant that they were getting, now we're getting it through ELOP. So we decreased the funding here, and it increased on the ELOP. Salaries and benefits did increase. As you know, we added a new position because this fund specifically, talking about shift of funding, it is we're getting more funding than before, and now the funding, the way that we're getting funding changed, so they're still on a surplus on this fund. So we can go to the next one. So our fund 14, this is pretty much money that is left over from last year's project. We had the Santa Rita restroom, and we got this money left over. Now it's being used to pay our employees to do projects around our school for district beautification, whether it's painting or something that needs to be replaced, not necessarily something that has to do with safety. But again, these funds are restricted specifically for facilities use. We can go ahead and move to the next one. This is the bond fund, and this is pretty much where we have our all of the play structures. I know we had just a facility walkthrough for some of the more sites, but that's where we are paying the play structures, and also La Jolla. We have 3 portables that we're budgeting for, and the playground as well, and garden relocation for GV, and part of it is the GV portable demolition that was between the summer. So some of that, it's in there. Also the 4 play structures at the 4 elementaries. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. This is our capital facilities fund. This is pretty much the funds that we receive for any construction going on around our area. This is based on actual, so this is pretty much how much funding we have received. It's looking better than last year. We're planning to spend all of it. We have been using that fund and pretty much to pay anything that requires facilities or anything. In the past, we have paid for any legal fees that involve facilities. So we can go ahead and go to the next one. Finally, this is our Fund 35. This is the fund where we purchase the land for Sobrana. And it was on last year's, the final purchase ended up being in July, so we move it to this year's budget. Fund 40, we don't have any activity there, but remember that's where we used to have the $1.5 million for GV projects and $1.5 million for JG. However, if you remember last year, we did a fund transfer of $500,000 to be able to purchase the land. So there's $500,000 here that we use that need to go back to that fund as soon as we get the state funding. Just want to remind everyone that. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So those are pretty much the forms. That's the cash flow. If you're interested about when are we actually getting the cash for those grants, that's where you can get an idea. It is by the months, or Form A is how the district getting funded. The next slide, it represents any interfunding activities between funds. And you're pretty much familiar with the other ones. Criteria and standards is a budget analysis. It does have a lot of detail on any differences on the object codes. So I did put a lot of the grants, the amounts, even the resource code if you're interested on that. And then at the end, our TRC, which verifies making sure that all of the resources balance. My page is clear. It's always clear. So if you have any questions, please let me know. That's it. Sorry, it took too long. It's a lot of information.
Yes, so one of my biggest concerns, I know I have brought it up before, is, that going into those red numbers, anything over the 85% and having us, being scared with money, and like the districts that, we see in local not that much long ago about like not having enough to, pay our teachers and all that kind of stuff. So I know that we're saying we're working on like where we could do, cuts and all of that, but I would like to see something put together to us so we could see, okay, what do we have working from here on out to avoid at all costs getting, where we're at, especially because like Mr. Patel said, that it's very concerning to see that decline of students, and it seems like it's just going down as year passes. So it's just concerning to know where we're going to stand in 2-3 years from now, right? Hopefully, I mean, there's an increase in enrollment, but now, there's parents used to have 5 kids, now they have 1, if any, so there's just a lot of things that take this into effect to see that enrollment decrease. But I would just like to see something put together for us, like, okay, this is where we're planning on doing these cuts, it's going to do this, and to see what those numbers are. And I know, like you said, you're working on it, but I would like to see something like that. That's all.
First, thank you for the huge amount of work, not just for you, but all the staff. I'm just impressed every single time. I would just like to say, in terms of planning, and this is more directed at the cabinet as a whole, I'd really, in terms of where we need to cut, like to make sure that we're having deep conversations with teachers, we're having deep conversations with classified. We've added a lot of positions in my time on the board, and it may just be with declining enrollment that some of those outside the classroom positions are not sustainable. So we need to talk about what's really working, what's really having an impact, so that when we make cuts, that we're keeping the quality of educational product still high, but acknowledging that we got huge influxes of money in COVID, and there may be things that are just not sustainable long term.
Thank you, Rosa, for your great presentation there. I am concerned at, with the declining enrollment especially. And I can remember back when we had a skeleton crew where it was just horrible during those years. And we cut and cut till the district office had only like maybe 4 or 5 employees. I'm hoping that it doesn't get to that point. And I'm going to be really positive about that. But the declining enrollment does bother me. As any other things that, where we have to be cutting, I just don't want to see our district, and you're doing a great job. I think it's, you've made it for us. You interpret a lot for us that a lot of times we have questions for, and you've answered them very accurately. But I'm just afraid of 3 years out, and it's nobody's fault because kids aren't coming. And then not only that, but now with our new kids might not be coming back from Mexico, or they might not want to be in our district, but we might be seeing more decline. I'm just trying to be not pessimistic. I'm trying to be optimistic, and hopefully, we'll get through this. We'll get through this. Oh, you've got.
Thank you for a great presentation, but thank you for stating the facts, no matter how good they are or bad they are, and we need to be able to trust the numbers. And so that's what, before I say anything, that's what, I've been relying upon for the last 4 or 5 years because, we've had issues with that. But having said that, Elva and Sarah, I think, when I came on this board 14 years ago, I always wanted to prepare for this day. And I've always talked about a few things. And one was, hey, we have income coming in, but I was always worried about the market going down, recession. Whatever we grow, especially with salaries, because that's our number one expense, that whatever we offer the teachers in salary, we can always maintain through the roughest of times. I, as a teacher, and you probably have as well, have been through times where we had to take a pay cut, had to take furloughs. And as a board member, I vowed to try to do everything to protect our staff to avoid that. And so over the years, we've always looked at the numbers, and we've made the best possible increases to teacher salary, making them competitive long before, when it wasn't. Elva, you remember those days? And at the same time, the issue was always, can we maintain this step and column throughout the worst of times? And that's what we have done, I think. The issue is not, I think we've prepared ourselves for maybe 2-3 years. The mitigating factor is hopefully the new homes come in and bring in the replacement. But there are many factors coming in the way. Number one, being we have a new administration talking about massive changes to education and federal dollars. We're talking massive issues regarding immigration and fear. And just recently, today, the czar announced that he's going to make it, there was a policy for them to avoid schools and churches, and they're going to do away with that as well. So it scares me. And so we need to do everything possible, not only protect our teachers and this district financially, but also as a whole, and protecting our students, and that's another conversation I want to have when we talk about new agenda items. But having said that, I think this district is ready. I think we're probably the best district prepared for this in this area. Having said that, we're going to have to make some difficult choices coming up. But my goal has always been, protect the classroom. And I agree with you, Sarah and Elva. I mean, for me, I think we have to protect the staff and the teachers, classified staff. We have added more to the top level of management as well as TOSAs and et cetera. And those are positions we have to look at. My last thing I want to do is to do any cuts with teachers and student ratios. We protect what we have, and we honor the promises made. And so having said that, I thank you for your honesty and your soberness in terms of bringing this information to us, because it is quite sobering. I'm pretty sure all the board members are pretty eye-open right now, and hopefully the public is too, because we're not the only district. This is a statewide program, a nationwide problem, I apologize. So, we will deal with it. That's what we like to do. Having said that, any further comments before I entertain a motion to accept? What is it, 9 point?
Motion to approve 9.5.
9.6.
9.6, pardon me, 9.6.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, Captain.
Motion passes 4-0.
9.7, approval of sunshine letter with CSEA. Chapter 503 to open contract negotiation with the district.
Thank you. As Juanita presented during CSEA's report this evening, CSEA has submitted a sunshine letter to open negotiations for the current school year. I know that Juana reviewed what they would like to open, and so this is just the formality of the board approving their sunshine letter to open negotiations.
Entertain a comment or a motion?
Motion to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Motion
Captain.
4-0.
All right, we're at our next board meeting is December 16th, next is coming up Monday. Suggested for future board items, I do have one item. Elva and Sarah, I hope you're okay with this. I would like to get a little bit more information from legal regarding immigration status and potential issues that district we might have in terms of protecting our students, we are vested to protect under current federal law, and see if that does change, what can we do to mitigate any circumstances. So I would like to get maybe some input from legal on that, if that's okay with the board. It doesn't have to be the December 11th meeting, the following meeting after that, Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Fellow board members?
Can I clarify our meeting on Monday? Because this was an election year, we are required to hold our annual reorganization meeting between December 13th and December 27th. It's on a timeline. Most years our December board meeting fits. This year it didn't, and they said no, so we're going to have a short meeting on Monday.
That's December 16th?
Yeah.
I think I had it on my calendar.
Mr. Torres missed public comment, but he did want to promote this second annual Hartnell Hangout with the girls basketball programs from our district and the high school district. And so I have a flyer for each of you regarding that.
Thank you so much. Any further comments, board members? All right, I think this is probably my last board meeting in terms of, do a little shuffle. I just want to say before next week, I know he's not here, but I want to say thank you. It's always been, we always seek consensus, and I think that's one thing I'm proud of. Each and every vote almost has been consensus driven. And so thank you for all the hard work you always do, and thank you for allowing me the latitude to lead this board for 1 year, and thank you. That's all I can say. Hopefully I did more better than worse, as I would say. Thank you very much. Having said that, I would like to motion for the end of the meeting. Can I get a first?
I motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye, aye, Captain.
Motion 4-0.